We're here at the University of Utah Union to canvass students to see if they know the difference between confidential and mandatory reporting. Odyssey House still has 2 more devices, but after that, patients can still come into the clinic and purchase them at full price, as insurance has yet to cover it. There are many resources for sexual assault victims on campus. You just gotta know where to find them. Aisha Bay, U of U News. A family's life was turned upside down this morning when a fire erupted in their West Valley home. The fire took place at 4411 West Trinity Avenue at around 7 a.m. 9 people, 6 adults and 3 children, were in the residence when the fire began.
I could see the smoke. I could see the people standing on the street. And I just remember hearing this little girl crying.
Autumn Price, who lives down the street from the home, was alerted of the fire by flashing red and blue lights out of her window. She says she knows the family and was devastated to see the destruction of their home.
It's just the saddest thing in the world to watch these people go through this. And I feel like if I could, I would walk in there and just hug them and make everything better, but I can't.
Several neighbors had similar experiences, and it was through an influx of neighbor calls that the West Valley Fire Department was able to get to the fire so quickly. The fire department believes that someone lit some candles in the back of the home and one of them fell to the floor, starting the fire. All 9 people got out safely, but one of the family dogs died, and another dog and a cat are still missing. Investigators estimate there is around $100,000 in damages. As a University of Utah employee, I have been trained extensively on how to report a sexual assault. Students, on the other hand, often don't think about where or how to report. We're here at the University of Utah Union to canvass students to see if they know the difference between confidential and mandatory reporting. So do you know the difference between confidential and mandatory reporting?
Confidential is done in secret? I don't know. That's like all I got. Nope.
I do not.
Nope.
Actually, I don't know the difference, but I know what mandatory is.
No, I'm not sure.
My time in the union taught me something. Students aren't aware of the resources offered on campus to survivors. Let's break it down. There are 2 ways for a survivor to report their sexual harassment or assault: mandatory and confidential. I talked to Paul Fisk, an advisor in the Center for Ethnic Student Affairs, about his role as a mandatory reporter.
If a student were to tell me about sexual assault, thinking about committing suicide, other things that are a threat to themselves or other people, that I am mandated to report that.
I asked Fisk about why he believes students may be hesitant to speak to a mandatory reporter.
If it's not seen as serious enough, it may not get reported, or if it's like, well, that's one-time thing, but you may not know how often it happens with other people. So I think that's difficult.
All university faculty, staff, and employees are mandatory reporters, but 3 offices: the Women's Resource Center, University Counseling Center, and the Victim Survivor Advocates. We spoke with Ellie Goldberg, a social worker in the Victim Survivor Advocates office, about what the difference between mandatory and confidential reporting is.
So unlike mandatory reporters, folks can come into our office and receive services, and we do not have to report any interpersonal violence to our Title IX office, the Office of Equal Opportunity. So a lot of times folks will come in here to actually explore what reporting might look like before they make a decision to do that.
The 2017 DPS reports only 15 rapes occurred to students that year. To put that into perspective, there were 25 more motor vehicle thefts reported. When asked about the statistic, Goldberg responded,
"It has to meet a very specific set of guidelines for it to be reported as rape. So in the fact that it's a very narrow definition, some things that are even reported don't make it into that annual security report because for one reason or another they didn't fit that definition exactly." There are many resources for sexual assault victims on campus. You just gotta know where to find them. Aisha Bay, U of U News. The key to recovery is right around the ear with the new device called the Bridge that reduces withdrawal symptoms.
Absolutely, it's a game changer.
This is Danelle Sabrowski, a physician's assistant at Odyssey House. She says she was at first skeptical of the device, but that changed when she applied it to her first patient.
Not even an hour of placing the device, having them feeling better, looking better, regaining an appetite. It was an instant gratification that we don't see almost at all in medicine.
Sobrowski has since gone on to place 10 devices. One of her patients, Randy Burton, was also skeptical at first, but then after a 10-minute discussion at Odyssey House, he made up his mind.
The bridge is a huge game changer. When I got it put on, I was shaking. I had a heart rate of like 95, and as soon as they put it on, my heart rate dropped. The anxiety started to go away, and it's not a drug, but it's a miracle. It's like a miracle device, I would say.
Device is truly a miracle
use
for those
as an
suffering.
aid to
Placed
reduce
behind
the
the ear,
symptoms of opioid
electrodes then
withdrawal
send signals to the
through
nervous
application
system,
to
blocking
branches
signals
of
of pain.
cranial nerves
This
5,
gives
7,
many hope
9,
as they begin
10,
their road to recovery.
and the
If you are sick, if you are having problems with opiates and you're really committed to sobriety, but you can't get through the excruciating process of detox, that there's something in this world that can help you.
Odyssey House still has 2 more devices, but after that, patients can still come into the clinic and purchase them at full price, as insurance has yet to cover it. From Salt Lake City, Aja Bay, News 4 Utah.